First contact and culture shock. The vast expanse of space had never seemed so intimidating to Zara Chen as it did now, staring out the viewport of the transport ship Stellar Envoy. The swirling colors of the nebula they were passing through would have been breathtaking under normal circumstances, but Zara's stomach was too busy doing backflips to appreciate the view. In just a few short hours, she would be the first human to set foot on Xenox Prime, home to the Galactic Federation's most prestigious university. It had been only 3 years since humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Federation, a coalition of advanced alien species that spanned a significant portion of the Milky Way. The discovery that Earth was not alone in the universe had sent shockwaves through human society, but the initial panic had quickly given way to excitement and curiosity. The Federation, for its part, had been cautiously optimistic about integrating this new Deathworld species into galactic society. Zara still remembered the day the alien ships had appeared in Earth's sky, sleek and silent, like nothing humanity had ever seen before. The months that followed were a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, cultural exchanges, and technological revelations. It soon became clear that while humans were far behind many Federation species in terms of spacefaring technology, they possessed a unique adaptability and resilience that fascinated their new galactic neighbors. Now, as part of the first wave of human integration into the wider galactic community, Zara had been selected to attend the University of Xenox Prime as an exchange student. The pressure of representing her entire species weighed heavily on her shoulders. Approaching final descent to Xenox Prime, the ship's AI announced, its artificial voice tinged with an alien accent that Zara still found disconcerting. Please secure all belongings and prepare for atmospheric entry. Zara took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. She glanced around the cabin at her fellow passengers, a diverse array of alien species, each more bizarre than the last. There was a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light, a squat, six-limbed creature covered in thick fur, and what appeared to be a sentient cloud of gas contained within a transparent sphere. None of them seemed particularly concerned about the impending landing. As the ship began its descent, Zora's mind wandered back to the briefing she'd received before leaving Earth. "Remember," Dr. Patel had said, her eyes serious behind her holographic display, "you're not just a student. You're an ambassador for all of humanity. The Federation is still trying to understand us, to categorize us. Your actions will shape their perceptions of our entire species." No pressure, Zara thought wryly as the ship shuddered around her. The landing was smoother than any Zara had experienced on Earth. As the ship's doors hissed open, she was hit with a wave of alien scents and sounds. The air of Xenox Prime was thicker than Earth's, with a slightly sweet taste that reminded Zara of overripe fruit. The gravity was also noticeably lighter, and she had to consciously adjust her movements to avoid stumbling. As Zara stepped onto the platform, she found herself face to face, or face to appendage, with a group of alien faculty members. They were a motley assortment of beings, each seemingly more outlandish than the last. At the forefront stood a tall, insectoid creature with multifaceted eyes and shimmering, translucent wings. "Welcome to Xenox Prime, Zara Chen of Earth," the insectoid being said, its mandibles clicking softly as it spoke. "I am Professor Xizix, Dean of Interspecies Relations. We are most eager to begin our cultural exchange." Zara bowed slightly, remembering her diplomatic training. "Thank you, Professor Xizix. I'm honored to be here and excited to learn from you all." As she straightened, she noticed the alien faculty members exchanging what she assumed were meaningful glances. One of them, a gelatinous blob with several eye stalks, oozed forward slightly. "Fascinating," it burbled, its voice sounding as if it were speaking underwater. The human shows no signs of distress despite the radical change in environment. Most species require at least a solar cycle to acclimate. Zara blinked, unsure if she was supposed to respond. Well, we humans are pretty adaptable. It's not comfortable, exactly, but it's manageable. This statement seemed to cause quite a stir among the faculty. They began chattering amongst themselves in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and subsonic rumbles that made Zora's teeth vibrate. Professor Xizix raised two of its four arms, quieting the group. Indeed, this adaptability is one of the many intriguing aspects of your species that we hope to study during your time here. Now let us proceed to the orientation chamber. We have much to discuss. As they moved through the spaceport, Zora couldn't help but notice the stares she was receiving from other aliens. Some looked curious, others wary, and a few seemed downright hostile. She squared her shoulders, reminding herself that she had as much right to be here as anyone else. The orientation chamber turned out to be a vast, circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed a real-time view of the space around Sinox Prime. Zora gasped despite herself at the sight of swirling nebulae and distant stars, more vivid than any telescope image she'd ever seen on Earth. Impressive, is it not? Professor Xizix said, mandibles forming what Zora hoped was a smile. But let us focus on the matter at hand. Your presence here is unprecedented, Zora Chen of Earth. You are the first of your kind to study at our institution, and indeed, one of the first humans to venture this far into Federation space. Zora nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. I understand the responsibility, Professor. I'm here to learn, but also to help you understand humanity better. A ripple of what might have been laughter went through the assembled faculty. The gelatinous professor oozed forward again. Understand humanity. My dear, we've been studying your species intensively since first contact. Your internet alone has provided us with terabytes of data to analyze. What could one individual possibly teach us that we don't already know? Zora felt a flash of irritation. With all due respect, Professor. Bloop, the blob supplied. Professor Bloop, Zora continued, there's a big difference between studying data and interacting with a living person. Humans are more than the sum of our internet posts and historical records. We're complex, contradictory, and constantly evolving. If you think you understand us completely based on some data mining, then I'd say you have a lot left to learn. The room fell silent. Zora's heart pounded in her chest, wondering if she'd just committed some terrible diplomatic faux pas. Then, to her surprise, Professor Xizix began to emit a high-pitched trilling sound that she realized was laughter. Well said, Zora Chen of Earth, the insectoid professor exclaimed. Your species' propensity for direct communication is refreshing. I believe your presence here will be most enlightening indeed. As the tension in the room dissipated, Zora allowed herself to relax slightly. She had passed her first test, it seemed, but she knew there would be many more to come. The real challenge was just beginning. Over the next few hours, Zora was inundated with information about the university, its courses, and the myriad alien species she would be studying alongside. Her head spun with new terms and concepts, but she forced herself to stay focused. This was what she had come here for, after all. As the orientation wound down, Professor Xizix approached her once more. You have had quite the eventful arrival, Zora Chen of Earth. I hope you are not feeling too overwhelmed. Zora managed a smile. It's a lot to take in, but I'm managing. Humans are good at adapting to new situations. So we have observed, Xizix replied, its multifaceted eyes glinting with what might have been amusement. I must confess, there has been much debate among the faculty about how to best accommodate what was the term? Ah yes, a Deathworlder such as yourself. Zora frowned. Deathworlder. It is the classification given to species that evolve on planets with extreme conditions, Xizix explained. High gravity, dense atmospheres, aggressive fauna. Conditions that would be lethal to most sentient life. Earth, with its wide range of climates and abundance of predators, certainly qualifies. I see, Zora said, not sure whether to be offended or proud. And what conclusion did you reach about accommodating me? Xizix's mandibles clicked in what Zora was beginning to recognize as amusement. We decided that the best approach would be to treat you as we would any other student, with some minor adjustments for your physical needs. You will be challenged, Zara Chen of Earth, but we believe you are capable of rising to those challenges. As Zara was led to her new living quarters, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, studied. Every interaction, every reaction was being noted and analyzed. It was unnerving, but also strangely exhilarating. She was at the forefront of human-alien relations, a pioneer in a vast, unknown frontier. Settling into her room, a curious blend of alien architecture and hastily added human comforts, Zora looked out at the alien landscape of Xenox Prime. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the crystalline spires of the university. Well, she said to herself, a smile tugging at her lips, this is going to be one hell of an adventure. Little did Zara know just how prophetic those words would prove to be. Her journey at the University of Xenox Prime was about to take her on a path that would not only challenge her, but potentially reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity itself. The human experiment. As the first rays of Xenox Prime's binary suns crept over the horizon, Zara Chen was already awake, her body still struggling to adjust to the alien planet's 30-hour day. She stood at the window of her dormitory room, watching as the crystalline spires of the university caught the light, refracting it into a dazzling array of colors. It had been 2 weeks since her arrival, and each day brought new wonders and challenges. The classes were unlike anything she had experienced on Earth. Lectures on quantum entanglement, delivered by beings of pure energy, practical exercises in xenobiology that involved specimens so alien they defied classification by human standards. But it wasn't just the academic rigors that kept Zara on her toes. Every interaction with her alien peers and professors felt like a test, an opportunity to showcase humanity's potential or to inadvertently reinforce stereotypes about her Deathworld species. As she prepared for another day of classes, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The challenges seemed to be growing more difficult, more tailored to push her limits. At first, she had attributed it to the natural progression of the curriculum, but now she wasn't so sure. Her first class of the day was Advanced Xenopsychology, with Professor Zix9, a gaseous being who communicated through pulsations of light and color. As Zara entered the lecture hall, she noticed several of her classmates giving her curious looks. Today, Professor Zix9 pulsed in greeting. We will be conducting a practical exercise in interspecies empathy and problem-solving. You will be divided into pairs and presented with a series of ethical dilemmas. Your task is to reach a consensus on the best course of action. Zara found herself paired with Glixspore, a silicon-based life form whose thought processes were as alien to her as its crystalline physiology. As the scenarios were presented, each more complex and morally ambiguous than the last, Zara felt herself being pushed to the limits of her ethical reasoning. Fascinating, Glixspore chimed, its facets glinting in the low light of the lecture hall. Your species' moral framework is remarkably flexible, Zara. You adapt your ethical stance based on context in a way that many of us find unpredictable. Zara frowned, unsure if this was a compliment or criticism. We humans believe that morality isn't always black and white. Sometimes, the right choice depends on the specific circumstances. As the class progressed, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that the scenarios were becoming increasingly tailored to provoke specific responses from her. It was as if someone was testing the limits of human moral reasoning. Her suspicions only grew stronger in her next class, Practical Applications of Multidimensional Physics, with Professor Xizix. The insectoid professor greeted her with what she had come to recognize as a smile. Ah, Zara Chen of Earth, today's practical exercise will be quite challenging. I hope you're prepared. The exercise, as it turned out, involved navigating a simulated spaceship through a series of increasingly complex multidimensional mazes. Zara's human brain, evolved to perceive only 3 spatial dimensions, struggled to comprehend the twisting, folding nature of the simulated space. Yet, as the simulation progressed, Zara found herself adapting. She began to intuit the flow of the higher dimensions, making leaps of logic that surprised even her. By the end of the class, she had outperformed many of her alien classmates, navigating paths through the maze that they hadn't even perceived. Professor Xizix's multifaceted eyes glinted with what might have been excitement. Most impressive, Zara Chen of Earth. Your species' ability to adapt to novel concepts is truly remarkable. As Zara left the classroom, she overheard Professor Xizix speaking in low tones to another faculty member. Results exceed our projections. The human's neural plasticity is off the charts. We may need to accelerate the program. Zara's suspicions crystallized into certainty. She was being studied, tested in ways that went beyond normal academic evaluation. But why? And to what end? Her final class of the day, Xenobiology and Ecosystem Dynamics, only reinforced her growing paranoia. The practical exercise involved interacting with a variety of alien flora and fauna in a controlled environment. As Zara carefully approached a particularly vicious-looking plant with razor-sharp leaves, she couldn't help but notice that her alien classmates were being given significantly less dangerous specimens to study. "Be careful, human," warned Slob, a gelatinous classmate. "That's a Venetian razor leaf. Its thorns can pierce most environmentally sealed suits." Zara nodded, her heart racing, as she delicately collected a sample from the plant. "Thanks for the warning. But why am I working with something so dangerous while the rest of you have relatively harmless specimens?" Zlob's eye stalks waved in what might have been a shrug. "Professor Bloop said it was to accommodate your species' higher durability and risk tolerance. Is that not accurate?" Before Zara could respond, a commotion from across the room caught her attention. One of her classmates, a methane-breathing entity named Gaspar, had accidentally released a highly corrosive spore. The spore cloud was rapidly expanding, threatening to engulf several students who were scrambling to activate their protective shields. Without thinking, Zara sprang into action. She grabbed a nearby containment field generator, quickly calibrating it to the spore's specific molecular structure, a skill she had picked up in last week's class on xenobiological containment protocols. With seconds to spare, she activated the field, enveloping the spore cloud and preventing it from spreading further. As the danger passed and her classmates recovered from the shock, Zara found herself the center of attention once again. Professor Bloop oozed over, its gelatinous form rippling with what she hoped was approval. "Quick thinking, Zara Chen of Earth," the professor burbled. "Your reaction time and ability to apply theoretical knowledge in a crisis situation are most impressive. It seems the challenges we've been presenting you with have been paying off." Zara's eyes narrowed. "Challenges? Professor, with all due respect, I get the feeling that I'm being subjected to some kind of experiment. These challenges seem specifically designed to test my limits in ways that don't apply to my classmates." A ripple passed through Professor Bloop's translucent body. Surprise, perhaps, or discomfort at being confronted so directly. "Your perception is keen, human. It's true that we have been, shall we say, tailoring your academic experience to better understand your species' capabilities." "But why?" Zora pressed, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "I came here to learn, not to be a lab rat." Professor Bloop's eye stalks swiveled, taking in the curious gazes of the other students who had gathered around. "Perhaps this is a discussion best continued in private. Zara Chen of Earth, if you would accompany me to my office." As Zara followed the gelatinous professor out of the classroom, her mind raced. She had come to Xenox Prime to be an ambassador for humanity, to learn and to teach. But it seemed the faculty had other plans. What exactly were they trying to discover? And more importantly, what would they do with that knowledge? The professor's office was a curious blend of cutting-edge alien technology and what appeared to be antique scientific instruments from a dozen different worlds. Professor Bloop oozed behind a desk that seemed designed to accommodate its amorphous form. "Zara Chen of Earth," the professor began, its voice taking on a more serious tone. "You must understand that your presence here is unprecedented. Humans are an anomaly in our galactic community. A young species from a harsh world, yet possessed of remarkable adaptability and resilience." Zara crossed her arms, her posture defensive. "So you decided to study me without my knowledge or consent." A ripple of what might have been discomfort passed through the professor's gelatinous form. "Our intentions were not malicious, I assure you. We simply sought to understand the full potential of your species. The results have been, frankly, astonishing." "What do you mean?" Zara asked, her curiosity overriding her anger for a moment. Professor Bloop's eye stalks waved in an excited pattern. "In just 2 weeks, you've demonstrated problem-solving skills, adaptability, and resilience that surpass many of our most advanced students. Your ability to grasp multidimensional concepts, for instance, is unprecedented for a species from a 3-dimensional reality." Zara frowned, processing this information. "But why keep it a secret? Why not just ask me to participate in your study?" "We feared that knowledge of the experiment might skew the results," the professor admitted. "We wanted to see how you would react to genuine challenges, not how you would perform when you knew you were being tested." Zara sat back, her mind whirling with the implications. On one hand, she felt violated, used as a subject in an experiment she hadn't agreed to. On the other hand, she couldn't deny a spark of pride at how well she had apparently performed. "What happens now?" she asked finally. Professor Bloop's form rippled thoughtfully. "That, Zara Chen of Earth, is largely up to you. We would like to continue our observations, with your full knowledge and consent this time. The data we gather could be crucial in helping humanity integrate more fully into the galactic community." Zara considered for a long moment. Despite her initial anger, she couldn't deny the potential benefits, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. If her experiences could help pave the way for better understanding between humans and alien species, wasn't that worth some personal discomfort? "All right," she said finally, her voice firm. "I'll continue to participate in your study, but on one condition: full transparency from now on. I want to know exactly what you're testing and why." Professor Bloop's eye stalks bobbed in what Zara had come to recognize as a nod. "Agreed. Your directness is another trait we find fascinating about your species. I believe this arrangement will be mutually beneficial." As Zara left the office, her head spinning with everything she had learned, she couldn't help but feel that she was standing on the precipice of something much bigger than herself. The challenges ahead would be greater than any she had faced so far, but she was determined to meet them head-on. Little did she know that the greatest test of her abilities, and of humanity's potential, was yet to come. Unexpected allies. The following weeks at the University of Xenox Prime were a whirlwind of activity for Zara. Now fully aware of her role in the ongoing study of human capabilities, she threw herself into her classes and experiments with renewed vigor. The challenges grew increasingly complex, pushing the limits of her problem-solving skills, adaptability, and even her physical endurance. One particularly grueling day found Zara in the university's state-of-the-art xenobiology lab. The room was a marvel of alien technology, filled with containment fields, holographic displays, and equipment she was still learning to name. Today's assignment: a practical exercise in interacting with a newly discovered species from the fringes of known space. Professor Zilks, a towering arachnoid being with 8 compound eyes, clicked its mandibles excitedly as it addressed the class. "Today, we have a unique opportunity. The specimen before you is a juvenile void stalker, recently captured by a deep space exploration team." Zara's eyes widened as she took in the creature floating in a shimmering containment field. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. A writhing mass of tentacles and sharp, crystalline protrusions. Its skin seemed to absorb light, creating an unsettling void-like appearance. Void stalkers are known for their aggressive nature and their ability to manipulate gravitational fields. Professor Zilks continued. "Your task is to collect a tissue sample without causing harm to the creature or yourselves. Remember, at this stage, it's more curious than hostile. Approach with caution. As her classmates hesitated, Zara stepped forward. She had learned that in many of these exercises, her human instincts often gave her an edge. Where her alien peers saw only danger, she often found opportunities for connection. Carefully, she approached the containment field. The Void Stalker's many eyes, if they could be called that, seemed to focus on her. Zara felt a strange sensation, as if the creature was probing her mind. "Hello there," she said softly, more to calm herself than in any expectation of communication. To her surprise, the creature's erratic movements slowed. It drifted closer to her side of the containment field. Professor Zilks's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Fascinating. It appears to be responding to your vocal patterns. Continue." Zara Chen of Earth. Encouraged, Zara began to hum a simple melody, a lullaby her grandmother used to sing. The effect on the Void Stalker was immediate and striking. Its tentacles began to move in rhythm with her humming, and the sharp crystalline protrusions retracted slightly. "I think it likes music," Zara said, her voice filled with wonder. "The vibrations must resonate with its sensory organs in some way." Taking a deep breath, Zara reached for the tissue collection tool. Still humming, she carefully extended it towards the creature. To everyone's amazement, the Void Stalker remained calm, allowing her to take the sample without incident. As Zara stepped back, sample in hand, the lab erupted in a cacophony of alien exclamations. Professor Zilks's entire body quivered with excitement. "Extraordinary," the professor chittered. "In all our previous encounters, Void Stalkers have violently resisted any attempt at sample collection. Your approach was unconventional, but undeniably effective." Zara grinned, still watching the now docile creature. "Sometimes, the best way to handle a scary situation is to find common ground. Music seems to be a universal language, even out here." As the class concluded, Zara found herself lingering in the lab, fascinated by the Void Stalker. To her surprise, the creature seemed equally interested in her, following her movements from within its containment field. "You should be proud, Zara Chen of Earth," Professor Zilks said, approaching her. "Your intuitive approach to interspecies interaction is quite remarkable." Zara nodded, her eyes still on the Void Stalker. "Professor, what's going to happen to it now? Will it be released back into space?" The professor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "That was the original plan, yes. But given the unprecedented rapport you've established, we may need to reconsider. Would you be interested in continuing to work with the specimen as part of an extended study?" Zara's heart leaped at the opportunity. "Absolutely. I mean, yes, I'd be honored, Professor." And so began Zora's most unusual friendship at the University of Xenox Prime. Over the next few weeks, she spent every spare moment in the lab with the Void Stalker, which she had started calling Midnight due to its light-absorbing properties. Through a combination of music, patience, and her own unique brand of human intuition, Zora made remarkable progress in communicating with Midnight. She discovered that the creature was far more intelligent than anyone had realized, capable of complex problem-solving, and even a form of telepathic communication. Word of Zora's success spread quickly through the university. Soon, her sessions with Midnight were drawing audiences of curious students and faculty members from various departments. Many were fascinated by the human's ability to connect with a creature that had previously been considered too dangerous for prolonged study. One evening, as Zora was concluding another session with Midnight, she noticed Professor Xizix and Professor Bloop in deep conversation at the back of the lab. Their hushed tones and furtive glances in her direction piqued her curiosity. As she packed up her equipment, she casually moved closer, straining to catch snippets of their conversation. "Unprecedented results," Professor Bloop was saying, its gelatinous form rippling with excitement. "The human's empathic abilities far exceed our initial projections." Professor Xizix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Indeed, but we must consider the broader implications. If humans can establish such connections with species we've long considered too dangerous to approach, It could revolutionize our entire approach to xenobiology, Professor Bloop finished. Not to mention the potential applications in diplomacy and conflict resolution. Zara's mind raced as she processed what she'd overheard. It seemed her work with Midnight was having far-reaching consequences beyond just her own academic progress. As if sensing her thoughts, Midnight pressed against the containment field, its tentacles forming patterns that Zara had come to recognize as expressions of curiosity and concern. "It's okay," she murmured, placing her hand against the field. "I think we might be changing some minds around here." The next day, Zara was summoned to a meeting with the university's senior faculty. As she entered the conference room, she was struck by the gravity in the air. Representatives from every department were present, their alien faces unreadable to her still-learning human perceptions. Dean Sizek stepped forward, its wings shimmering in the room's soft light. "Zara Chen of Earth, your work with the Void Stalker specimen has garnered significant attention. We believe it may have implications that extend far beyond the scope of our original study." Zara straightened, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'm glad my research has been valuable, Dean. Midnight, the Void Stalker, is a remarkable being. I think there's still so much we can learn from each other." Professor Bloop oozed forward, its eye stalks focused intently on Zara. "Your ability to establish a meaningful connection with a species previously thought to be incompatible with our forms of communication is unprecedented. It challenges many of our long-held assumptions about interspecies relations. We believe," Dean Sizek continued, "that your unique human perspective, combined with the education you're receiving here, could be instrumental in reshaping our approach to newly discovered species, particularly those we've historically classified as too dangerous for prolonged interaction." Zara's heart raced with excitement and a touch of apprehension. "What exactly are you proposing?" The dean's multifaceted eyes seemed to glitter with anticipation. "We would like to expand the scope of your studies. In addition to your regular coursework, you'll be given the opportunity to work with other high-risk species under controlled conditions. Your insights could revolutionize our field of xenobiology." As the implications of this offer sank in, Zara felt a mix of elation and trepidation. This was an incredible opportunity, a chance to make a real difference in how the galactic community approached new life forms. But it also came with enormous responsibility and potential danger. "I'm honored," Zara said finally, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. "And I accept. If my work can help foster better understanding between species, I want to be a part of that." A ripple of what Zara had come to recognize as approval passed through the assembled faculty. Dean Sizek stepped forward, extending one of its 4 hands. "Then let us embark on this new chapter together, Zara Chen of Earth. Your journey here has only just begun." As Zara shook the dean's hand, claw, appendage, sealing her commitment to this new path, she couldn't help but feel that she was standing on the brink of something monumental. Her work with Midnight had opened doors she never could have imagined when she first arrived on Xenox Prime. Little did she know that her newfound role would soon thrust her into the heart of a galactic crisis, one that would test not only her own abilities, but humanity's place in the cosmos itself. Galactic crisis. Months passed, and Zara's life at the University of Xenox Prime fell into a new rhythm. Her days were split between rigorous academic studies and groundbreaking work with various high-risk species. Her successes continued to astound her alien professors and peers, challenging long-held beliefs about interspecies communication and cooperation. But as Zara's reputation grew, so did the whispers of discontent among certain factions of the galactic community. Not everyone was comfortable with the idea of a Deathworlder having such unprecedented access to potentially dangerous life forms. It was on a seemingly ordinary day that everything changed. Zara was in the middle of a delicate communication session with a crystalline entity known as a Thought Weaver when alarms began blaring throughout the campus. The sound was so unexpected and jarring that the Thought Weaver shattered into 1,000 glittering shards, reforming moments later in a defensive configuration. "What's going on?" Zara asked, her heart racing as she tried to calm the agitated alien. Professor Zilks burst into the lab, all 8 of its eyes wide with panic. "Zara, we need you in the emergency council chamber immediately. There's been an incident." As they rushed through the corridors, Zora's mind raced with possibilities. Had one of the specimens escaped? Was Earth in some kind of trouble? Nothing could have prepared her for the reality. The council chamber was in chaos when they arrived. Holographic displays flickered with disturbing images. Entire star systems going dark, fleets of ships fleeing in terror, and at the center of it all, a massive writhing form that seemed to devour light itself. Dean Sizix's voice cut through the cacophony. "Silence. We must approach this crisis with clear minds." Turning to Zara, the Dean's compound eyes reflected the gravity of the situation. "Zara Chen of Earth, we face a threat unlike any the galaxy has encountered in millennia. The cosmic devourer has awakened." Zara's blood ran cold. She had heard whispers of the cosmic devourer in her xenobiology classes, an ancient entity of unimaginable power, long thought to be nothing more than a myth used to frighten young aliens. "I don't understand," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is it exactly? And why am I here?" Professor Bloop oozed forward, its gelatinous form quivering with anxiety. "The cosmic devourer is a living galaxy, a collective consciousness of billions of assimilated life forms. It travels through the void between galaxies, consuming everything in its path. Our ancestors managed to lull it into dormancy eons ago, but now it's awake," Zara finished, the enormity of the situation sinking in. "But what can I possibly do against something like that?" Dean Sizix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Your work with high-risk species, particularly the Voidstalker, has demonstrated an unprecedented ability to communicate with life forms vastly different from your own. We hope, that you might be able to establish some form of communication with the cosmic devourer." Zara's mind reeled. The fate of the galaxy potentially rested on her shoulders. Even if I could communicate with it, what would I say? How do you reason with something that consumes entire star systems? The room fell silent, the weight of the impossible task hanging heavy in the air. Then, a familiar voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. Perhaps came the melodic tones of Ambassador Lexin, the harmonic who had first advocated for Earth's inclusion in the Galactic Federation. "We are approaching this from the wrong angle. Zara, in your work with the Voidstalker and other species, what has been your most effective tool for establishing a connection?" Zara thought for a moment, then replied, "Empathy. Trying to understand their needs, their perspective, and finding common ground, no matter how small." Ambassador Lexin nodded, her crystalline form shimmering. "Then that is where we must start. We need to understand why the cosmic devourer consumes. Is it hunger? Loneliness? A drive to expand? If we can understand its motivation, perhaps we can find an alternative that satisfies its needs without destroying our galaxy." A murmur of hope rippled through the chamber. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Dean Sizix turned to Zara, all 4 of its arms spread in a gesture of supplication. "Zara Chen of Earth, we cannot force this burden upon you. The risk is immense, but you may be our only hope. Will you attempt to communicate with the cosmic devourer?" Zara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of galaxies on her shoulders. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide, to leave this impossible task to someone, anyone else. But she thought of Earth, of her family, of all the wondrous beings she had met since coming to Xenox Prime. She couldn't abandon them. "I'll do it," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "But I'll need help, and we need to move fast." The next few hours were a blur of preparation. The university's most advanced long-range communication array was repurposed to send Zora's thoughts across the vast distances of space. Midnight, the Voidstalker was brought in to act as a sort of psychic amplifier. its ability to manipulate gravitational fields proving crucial in boosting the signal. As Zara settled into the communication pod, her mind linked with Midnight's and the vast array of alien technology surrounding them. She felt a moment of pure terror. What if she failed? What if her attempt at communication only angered the cosmic devourer, accelerating its approach? Remember, Ambassador Lixon's voice came through the comm system. Soothing and melodic, you are not just Zara Chen. You are humanity. You carry with you the hopes, dreams, and collective will of your entire species. Let that strength guide you. With those words echoing in her mind, Zara closed her eyes and reached out across the cosmos. At first, there was nothing but the vast, cold emptiness of space. Then, suddenly, she felt it. An immense ancient presence that dwarfed anything she had ever experienced. The cosmic devourer's consciousness crashed over her like a tidal wave, threatening to sweep away her very sense of self. Images of consumed worlds, assimilated civilizations, and the unending loneliness of eons spent traversing the void between galaxies flooded her mind. Fighting against the overwhelming tide of alien thoughts, Zara focused on projecting empathy, understanding, and above all, a willingness to listen. Slowly, painstakingly, she began to make sense of the swirling chaos of the cosmic devourer's mind. You're lonely, Zara thought, the realization striking her like a physical blow. All this time, all this consumption, you've been searching for connection. The response came not in words, but in a flood of emotions and memories. The cosmic devourer had once been a singular entity, but in its quest for knowledge and experience, it had begun assimilating other life forms. What started as curiosity became an addiction, an endless cycle of consumption in a futile attempt to fill the void of its own existence. Zara's heart ached with compassion for this ancient lonely being. But don't you see? She projected, drawing on every ounce of her humanity. True connection doesn't come from consumption. It comes from cooperation, from the beautiful complexity of different beings coming together while remaining themselves. She flooded the link with memories, the vibrant diversity of life on Earth, the wonders she had experienced at the University of Xenox Prime, the joy of her friendship with Midnight. She showed the cosmic devourer the potential of a galaxy teeming with unique life forms, each with their own perspectives and experiences to share. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, there was no response. Zara held her breath, wondering if her message had gotten through, if it had made any difference at all. Then, slowly, she felt a shift in the vast consciousness, curiosity, uncertainty, and finally, a glimmer of something she had never expected to feel from such an ancient and powerful being: hope. The cosmic devourer's response came not in words, but in a cessation. The reports of consuming star systems stopped. The massive entity halted its approach to the galaxy. As Zara opened her eyes, exhausted but elated, she saw the faces of her alien professors and peers staring at her in awe. On the holographic displays, the cosmic devourer's form was changing, shifting from a chaotic, all-consuming mass to something more structured, more purposeful. It's transforming, Professor Bloop burbled in amazement, reconfiguring itself into a kind of galactic nexus. Dean Sizix's mandibles clicked rapidly. Zara, what did you do? What did you say to it? Zara smiled wearily, feeling the weight of her accomplishments settling over her. I showed it that there's more to existence than consumption. That true fulfillment comes from connection and diversity. She paused, looking at the transformed image of the cosmic devourer. I think it wants to learn from us now, instead of consuming us. As the implications of what had just occurred began to sink in, the chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien cheers, whistles, and other sounds of jubilation. Zara had not only saved the galaxy from destruction, but had potentially opened up an entirely new era of cosmic understanding and cooperation. In that moment, as she was surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, all celebrating this miraculous turn of events, Zara realized that she had accomplished something far greater than she had ever dreamed possible. She had proven, beyond any doubt, the unique value that humanity could bring to the galactic community. The crisis was over, but Zara knew that her journey, and humanity's journey among the stars, was only just beginning. Humanity's triumph. In the days following the cosmic devourer incident, the University of Xenox Prime buzzed with an energy unlike anything Zara had experienced before. News of her unprecedented communication with the ancient entity spread rapidly across the galaxy, sparking intense debate, awe, and no small amount of controversy. Zara found herself at the center of a whirlwind of attention. Alien diplomats, scientists, and journalists from every corner of the Galactic Federation clamored for interviews and insights. How had she, a mere human from a death world, managed to reason with a being that had eluded understanding for eons? As she stood before the Galactic Council, preparing to give her official testimony, Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of vertigo. Just months ago, she had been a wide-eyed exchange student, marveling at the wonders of alien technology. Now she was addressing the most powerful beings in the known universe. Esteemed members of the council, Zara began, her voice steady despite her nerves. What transpired with the cosmic devourer was not just a triumph of humanity, but a testament to the power of empathy and understanding across all species. She went on to explain in detail her interaction with the ancient entity, emphasizing the universal desire for connection that she had discovered at its core. As she spoke, she could see the impact of her words rippling through the assembled aliens. Beings that had once viewed humans as primitive or dangerous were now looking at her, and by extension, all of humanity, with new eyes. The cosmic devourer has agreed to serve as a repository of knowledge and a facilitator of interspecies communication, Zara concluded. But more importantly, this experience has shown us that even the most alien of minds can find common ground. It is my hope that this event will usher in a new era of cooperation and understanding throughout our galaxy. As applause, in its many alien forms, filled the council chamber, Zara caught the eye of Ambassador Lixin. The harmonic's crystalline form shimmered with what Zara had come to recognize as pride. In the weeks that followed, the ramifications of Zara's achievement began to unfold across the galaxy. The University of Xenox Prime announced the establishment of a new department dedicated to the study of high-risk species communication, with Zara invited to serve as a key advisor. Diplomatic channels between Earth and other worlds expanded rapidly, with humans suddenly in high demand for their unique perspective and problem-solving abilities. But perhaps the most profound change was in the way other species viewed humanity. No longer were humans seen merely as resilient Deathworlders or unpredictable newcomers to the galactic stage. They were now recognized as a species with a remarkable capacity for empathy, adaptability, and bridging seemingly insurmountable differences. As Zara prepared to return to Earth for a well-deserved break, she found herself in a quiet moment with Dean Xizix and Professor Bloop. Zara Chen of Earth, Dean Xizix began, its mandibles clicking softly. When you first arrived here, we saw you as an interesting specimen to study. We could not have imagined the profound impact you, and through you, all of humanity, would have on our understanding of the universe. Professor Bloop's gelatinous form rippled with agreement. Your species' ability to adapt, to empathize with even the most alien of minds, is truly remarkable. It challenges us to reconsider our approach to the unknown. Zara smiled, feeling a mix of pride and humility. Thank you, but I didn't do this alone. It was the education I received here, the support of beings like yourselves, that made this possible. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our resilience or our adaptability. It's our ability to learn from and connect with others. As she boarded the ship that would take her back to Earth, Zara's mind was already racing with plans for the future. She knew that her adventure at the University of Xenox Prime was just the beginning. Humanity had proven its worth on the galactic stage, but there was still so much to learn, so many bridges to build. The ship lifted off, carrying Zara towards home, and whatever challenges the future might hold. As she watched the crystalline spires of Xenox Prime recede into the distance, she felt a profound sense of optimism. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was now poised to explore it not just with courage and curiosity, but with a newfound respect from their alien neighbors. In the end, Zara realized her journey had not just been about proving humanity's worth to the galaxy. It had been about showing the galaxy, and perhaps humanity itself, the unique perspective and abilities that humans could bring to the cosmic community. The true test of humanity's place in the stars was just beginning, and Zara couldn't wait to see what wonders and challenges lay ahead. As the ship entered hyperspace, carrying her across the vast distances between worlds, Zara smiled to herself. She had come to Xenox Prime as a student, eager to learn about the wonders of the universe. She was returning to Earth as a teacher, ready to share the lessons of empathy, adaptability, and cosmic cooperation with her own people. The future stretched out before her, a tapestry of infinite possibilities. Humanity had taken its first true steps into the galactic community, and thanks to Zara's remarkable journey, those steps were ones of triumph, understanding, and hope. As Earth came into view, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the vastness of space, Zara felt a surge of emotion. She had seen wonders beyond imagination, faced challenges that had seemed insurmountable, and in the process had helped reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be human. But more than that, she had learned a profound truth, that in the vast, diverse tapestry of galactic life, humanity's greatest strength lay not in their ability to survive harsh conditions or adapt to alien environments, but in their capacity to connect, to empathize, and to find common ground across the stars. As the ship began its descent towards home, Zara knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The true adventure, for her, for humanity, and for the entire galactic community, was just getting started.